Okay, today we're going to be working on 7.5, solving two-step equations. We've been learning all about one-step equations, but today we're going to take it a little bit further and do two-step equations. So I want you to go ahead and write down these rules for me. The main thing you want to recognize whenever you're looking at these rules is the first thing you're always going to do is add or subtract. Then, after that, the key word there is then. Then you're going to multiply or divide. But always just make sure you do the adding and subtracting first. There's a main idea that I want you to get. Never move the number that is attached to the variable first. You're going to get rid of the other stuff, and then you'll get rid of the number that's attached to the variable. So here's what we're going to do, just a few examples that have to do with two-step equations. Write this down for me, please. You're going to solve the equation, and then we'll check the solution. This problem is considered a two-step equation because there are two things that are keeping the variable from being by itself. Okay, so the whole point of this is we're trying to get x to equal something. But you can see that right here I have times 5 is attached to it and minus 6 is next to it. So I have two things that I have to get rid of before I can figure out what x is. According to my rules, what should I do first? Add and subtract or multiply and divide? Add and subtract. As you can see, I've got minus 6 right there. I have to get rid of minus 6. What is the inverse operation of minus 6? Plus 6, okay? So I've got to do plus 6 so I can get rid of that 6. I want to put it onto the other side. So if I do something to the left side, I have to do something to the right side. What happens to the minus 6 plus 6 on the left side? It becomes a 0. So I cancel it out because it's a 0. What am I left with on the left side? 5x, so I'm bringing it down. 5x equals negative 21 plus 6. You can use your calculators if you want, or you can use the same sign, add and keep. What is negative 21 plus 6? Negative 15. Same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract and take. Okay, so at this point, this is normally when I'd box in my answer. Did I figure out what x is? No, we figured out what 5x was, but I need to figure out just what plain old x is. How do I get rid of that 5 that's attached to the x? Not negative 5. What sign is in between a 5 and an x? You have to divide, okay? Because right now that says 5 times x. So I've got to get rid of it. Use the fraction bar, divide by 5. What I do to the left side, I have to do to the right side. What is 5x over 5? 1. That cancels out because 5 divided by 5 equals 1. So I'm left with an x, or you could say 1x, but the 1 is understood, so I just get rid of that. Once again, you can use your calculators if you need to, or you can use your brain. Negative 15 divided by 5 equals negative 3. Remember, if you're dividing with a negative number, if there's only one of them, you always keep the negative sign. Okay, so this was called a two-step equation because I had to do 2 steps to figure out what x equals. Now, it still asked me to check my solution. You check the solution the same exact way. You're going to retake this original thing that you have here and rewrite it down there. Now, instead of putting 5x minus 6 equals negative 21, what am I going to put in place of the x? Not just a 3. Negative 3. And what sign is going in between the 5 and the 3? Parentheses, because that means what? Multiply. I have to multiply times negative 3. So we know 5 times negative 3 is negative 15 minus 6. And then when I work that out, same sign, add the numbers and keep the sign. Negative 5 minus 6 equals negative 21. And that does equal each other. So it checked out. What is my variable? A variable is a letter. B, okay? What is keeping B from being alone?
7.
What's the 7 doing? Is it being multiplied, added, subtracted, or divided?
Subtracted.
It is not being, well, this one right here is being subtracted, okay? What about the other negative 7? Means to multiply negative 7 times B. So I've got to get rid of this negative 7 and I have to get rid of the other negative 7. Let's get rid of 1 first because it's going to be a two-step problem. What do I do first in my rules? Add and subtract or multiply and divide? Add and subtract. So what's the opposite of negative 7?
Positive 7.
Okay, so I'm going to add 7 to the left side, which means I have to do what?
Do it to the other side.
Do it to the other side. Okay, what happens to negative 7 plus 7?
You cancel.
It cancels it out because it equals 0. So on the left side, what am I left with? Negative 7b on the left side. So I'm going to bring down my equal sign. And now on the right side, negative 42 plus 7. Okay, negative 35. Now, is my variable all alone by itself? No, it still has something attached to it. What's attached to it? Negative 7 is attached to that variable. How do I get rid of that negative 7? I have to divide because remember, whenever a number is directly next to a letter, they are being multiplied together. So I am going to use my fraction bar, divide by negative 7. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other. The negative 7 over the negative 7 cancels out. I'm left only with B. And negative 35 divided by negative 7 is what? 5. Box your answer in because you discovered what B equals. Now we have to check it. Who can check it for me? Go ahead. Why negative 7 times negative 5? Times positive 5 because my answer is 5 equals? Okay? So now plug it in and see what that does equal. Okay, because negative 7 times 5 equals negative 35 minus 7. Same sign, add the numbers, which is 42. Keep the sign, which was a negative, and that equals what I wanted it to. So it did check out. Okay, so problem C says C divided by 3 plus 13 equals 10. Help me out with what I should do.
You should multiply. You should put parentheses 3 on top of the C.
Okay, go back to our rules real quick before you try to tell me to multiply. What does rule number 1 say in our notes? No, rule number 1. Add or subtract. We have to do the add or subtract first. Read me what the red note said there on your notes. Never move the number that's attached to the variable first. So don't try to get rid of divide by 3 until you've gotten rid of everything else, okay? So help me out one more time. What should I do first? Add or subtract. So what should I be doing? Get rid of plus 13. What's the opposite of plus 13? What's the opposite of plus?
Negative.
Subtract. Okay, so I got to subtract 13. I have to do it to the other side of the equal sign because whatever I do to one side, I've got to be fair. Okay, keep going.
Cross out
13 minus 13 equals 0, so I'm going to cross it out. What am I left with on the left side of my equation sign?
-3.
Okay, that's on the right side. What's on the left side?
C over 3.
C over 3. Okay, now, did I get my answer? Is C all by itself? No, it's a two-step equation. There's still something else attached to it. What is attached to it?
C.
What's attached to the C? 3. What about 3? Adding 3, subtracting 3, multiplying. Dividing 3. What's the opposite of divide by 3? multiply by
Three.
3. If I do it to the left side, I have to do it to the right side. What am I left with on that side of the equal sign? When I have a 3 on top of a 3, 3 divided by 3, what does that equal? 1. So this turns into a 1. So on the left side, I have 1c, but you don't have to keep the 1, so I just have plain old c, equals, what is negative 3 times 3? Negative 9. And that is your answer. It took us 2 steps to get to it, but you did find the answer. Okay, what is negative 9 divided by 3? Not 3. Negative 3, okay? If you have only one negative, you always keep the negative. And then negative 3 plus 13 is 10. Good job. What do I do first? Multiply and divide or add and subtract? Add and subtract. So I got to get rid of negative 10. What's the opposite of negative 10? Okay, so I'm going to do plus 10 to the left side. I have to be fair. Do plus 10 to the right side. This cancels out, and on this side, all I'm left with is x divided by 2 equals, what is negative 10 plus 10? 0. Okay, so I could cancel it out, but I have to put a number over here, so the number I'm going to put is 0. Okay, now notice, x is still not by itself. Divide by 2 is still attached to it. I got to get rid of divide by 2. How do I do that? Multiply by 2. If I multiply by 2 on the left side, I have to multiply by 2 on the right side. Okay, so over here, this cancels out because 2 divided by 2 equals 1. So I'm left with 1x over here, and 0 times 2 equals 0.
That's what I did. But
When we do checking, it's just a way of seeing, is my answer in fact correct? So instead of doing x divided by 2, I'm going to do 0 divided by 2, rewrite the original equation, minus 10 equals negative 10. 0 divided by 2 equals 0. So 0 minus 10 equals negative 10. And basically, if you remember, the identity property told me anything when you just subtract 0, it's like you get rid of the 0, and you're left with negative 10 equals negative 10. So it did check out.
it's harder.
Go ahead and write this problem down for me. M over 4 plus 7 equals negative 7. What do I have to do first? Add and subtract or multiply, divide? Subtract. Add and subtract, okay? So I am going to be subtracting what number? Negative 7. Remember, to be fair, what you do to the left side, you do to the right side. What happens to plus 7 and minus 7?
0.
It cancels out into a 0, and what am I left with on this side? On this side, what am I left with?
M over 4.
M over 4. What does M over 4 mean?
Divide.
M divided by 4. What is negative 7 minus 7?
0.
Negative 14. Same sign, add the numbers, and keep the sign. Okay, now what do I do, guys?
Multiply 4.
Multiply by 4 on both sides. This cancels out and turns into 1 times m, which is just m. What is negative 14 times 4? Negative 56. Okay, check it for me, guys.
Oh. Negative 56 over 4 plus 7 equals negative 7. And then negative 14 plus 7 equals negative 7. And negative 7 equals
That is correct. Negative 7 does equal negative 7. Good job, guys. Our final problem of today is a story problem. You have $11 to spend at the store. You spent $5 on chips. How many candy bars can you buy for $2 each with the money that you have left over? Okay, so it sounds like you guys did a lot of reasoning in your mind to figure this out. This could have been turned into an algebraic equation, okay? How many dollars did you have to start with?
11.
$11, okay? So you could have done something like this. I have $11. How much do you know that you spent for sure? $5 on some what? Chips. Okay, now you know that you can buy some candy bars. Our candy bars is going to be known as X. Now, are they worth 1X, or how many dollars is one candy bar worth? 2. So it's technically 2X. So you could have worked it out just like this. $11 equals $5 plus 2X. X is the candy bars you're trying to figure out, okay? So I get rid of that $5. I got to get rid of it on this side to be fair. Then I'm left with $6 equals, this cancels out, 2X. I got to divide by 2 over here, divide by 2 over here. This cancels out. And 6 divided by 2 equals what?
X equals 3.
3 candy bars.
3, okay? And thank you for saying 3 candy bars. Tonight, on your homework, you're going to have a story problem, and you have to tell me 3 what. So make sure you box that answer in. Your homework tonight is up on the board. It's just 9 problems tonight, and that's everything you need to know for 7.5. Remember, we will have a quiz on Monday over section 7.1 to 7.5.